This is Improvisations to Go.
So many of the things that you enjoy would not exist without sponsors. Improvisations to Go has 3 great ones. Aubrey's, you can get it to go. Lusid Media, spell that Lusid. And Interspace Yoga and Meditation Supplies, making every day a good day. It was a beautiful, lazy Saturday afternoon in the house. One of those days where you just want to sit around, be unproductive, and exhale for just about an afternoon or so. But the Women in Jazz Jam Festival was happening about 5 minutes from my house at Knoxville Center Mall. And having time traveled to the future and seen that Knoxville Center Mall would soon not exist, I decided to go. Plus, the festival was a Kelly Jolly production. And whenever Kelly is involved, things are just more fabulous.
Wow. Thank you, Todd.
Oh, Kelly, I didn't know you were listening.
I'm always listening.
And I was listening that day at the mall. And I was glad because Amy Bormet was featured. And man, her show was fantastic. She played with local musicians. I bought her CD after the show. I love buying CDs at the show. And I told her I might be coming to DC. Did she have some ideas about what I should see, where I should go, what I should eat?
That's such a hard question. I think in terms of food style, there's 2 things that I would never miss. When I came back from LA and I was living in LA and I would come back, I would definitely go get pupusas. And there's several good pupusa places. My favorite one is Tortilla Cafe near Eastern Market, which is a really small little spot, but I love it. They have great pupusas, great breakfast burritos.
Yeah, I could go for a breakfast burrito right now. It would help 2020, I think. What a year, huh? 2020. The year of stereotypes. That's one thing I've noticed. Everybody's stereotyping everybody. And I wonder about my own stereotypes. In particular, what are my stereotypes about Washington, D.C.? I mean, a lot of them are negative, quite frankly. But what do other people think about it when they come there?
Yeah, I think, people have a certain expectation, whether it's tourists or, the general public, of what DC is about because of what they see on the news or what they see in the media. Like, the city can only have one theme. And when they find out that our art scene is, not only a really powerful and compelling art scene, but that we have so many different places you can go and see for free, very, very high-level performers. And we have the tons and tons of museums and alternative venues. Not only do we have the traditional jazz clubs, but we also have lots of other spaces and lots of people who are super active politically. So we get a lot of traction in terms of opening up new spaces and creating legislation to support the arts in DC. So I think it's surprising, but it's only if you haven't really been a part of it and seen it in action.
Can you tell me more about legislation created? That's fascinating.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that we've seen a weakening of the musicians unions across the country, and so a lot of things have come to sort of fill in that space. One of which is the Capitol Hill Jazz Foundation, which has revitalized the Congressional Jazz Caucus to really get jazz, back in the legislation to talk about. We had House Resolution 57, which was saying that jazz was America's music, and to be able to continue to advocate for jazz and to let our legislators know what a special art form and uniquely American art form it is. And then we have more local stuff, like recent legislation that has given a tax break to venues that present more than 20 hours of live music a week.
Living in Washington, D.C. must have some influence on you as a composer with all the culture in your backyard and all the politics. How does that influence you as a composer?
It's awesome. It's an awesome place to be inspired and to be inspired on a budget. And you can go and see a free concert of an oud player at the Sackler Gallery on a Saturday, or you can go and see, a French silent film being accompanied by an Australian accordion player at the National Gallery, and you can really go anywhere. You can go the Kennedy Center has a free concert every day at the Millennium Stage, and there's tons and tons of really diverse music that's happening there. So it's a place that's easy to be inspired by, but also I think manageable to get around and to get to know people. So there's just a lot of people who are good at organizing and good at putting on events and good at being, good citizens and active citizens here in the city. So it's great.
Amy K. Bormet. And she has her own festival, which she organized, and it's amazing. After this short instrumental break, I'm going to go off on my Airbnb experience. That's right, I'm going to go off. I'm not going to hold anything back, so prepare yourself. I woke up the first morning in my Airbnb feeling very tired. I had stayed up most of the evening before trying to figure out how to get the heat going in my room, which was freezing. It was not comfortable. It was freezing. At one point, I literally heard my teeth chattering. So I texted the administrator of the room, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what they are. I don't know who they are, where they live. Are they in the cloud? So I texted him and I said, "Hey man, I am freezing in my room. I cannot figure out the thermostat. In fact, it doesn't seem to work." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's right. I control your thermostat with my iPhone." And I said, well, I texted, "Control it, man. I'm freezing." So I went to bed and I woke up about 4 a.m, sweating like I was in the Amazon forest. He had turned it up to like 90 degrees. And you ever wake up like that? Just so hot, it just makes you ill. Anyway, I opened all the windows, wasted a bunch of energy and slept very little. So the next morning I needed something to help. And, well, help was very close by. One of my favorite sources of tea in the world is in D.C., in fact, 3 locations. It's called Teaism. So I got up and I walked down to Teaism. It was a crisp January morning, great morning for a walk, about 30 minutes to Teaism from Logan Circle, past several famous landmarks. Oh, there's the sushi burrito place. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Oh, there's where Abraham Lincoln had a very, very unfortunate evening. And oh, there's that building that I should know what it is. The next thing I know, I'm at Teaism. It's warm, the food is good, the tea is amazing, and I'm talking to the co-owner, Michelle Brown, and her daughter, Leela.
So we opened in 97, and to great fanfare and excitement with the city. And we were a fast casual before there was a phrase fast casual back then. And that was the beginning. It just seemed like it was time. It was, there were coffee houses everywhere. There were fine dining restaurants that used tea as the hook. Come spend $50 for lunch and you can have, loose leaf tea for, with your dessert or whatever. So in exploring that, we realized that it would be really nice to have sort of a tea concept that made it accessible so that people could drink it 2 times a day, 3 times a day instead of, just special occasions.
My old friend Lee Gardner in Baltimore told me he loves Teaism, but he's paralyzed when he sees the wall of tea. And let me tell you, when I see the wall of tea, it's like that scene in The Wizard of Oz when they see Emerald City. It's just one of the greatest visions. But I understand that. I've been drinking tea for 3 decades. Now, how do you choose a tea? How do you pick what tea you want to start with? It's a tough question.
It changes throughout the year for me, and I think also like people's if you drink too much of the same tea, your palate gets used to it, so then you kind of have to change it up and bring something else in so that maybe you go back to enjoying the tea that you were enjoying before. But, for me, during the winter time, I really enjoy something like the pu'er we're drinking right now, or something that's a little bit toastier and earthier. And then during the hot weather, I kind of go towards something that's a little bit lighter bodied. And I've been on a matcha kick, so I've been whisking a lot of matcha for myself, and that's been a really nice, if you can get good quality matcha, it's a nice way to start the day because it's quick. It's, I'm having my moment of zen, I drank it, and now I can move on, and I really have, all of the alertness and energy that I need to get through the day.
And it's fun to make matcha tea.
Yeah, it is fun. I think it's a practice,
And it's easy. It's
Yeah.
not so difficult. I mean, it seems, I need a whisk, I need this special bowl. But once you get going, it's very easy.
And that's the cool thing about tea. Like her daughter Leela was saying, who also works at Teaism, it's a practice, and you have to practice at it. You just can't say, I want to play trumpet and be great at it. You got to work at it, but the rewards are immense. And it's not only relaxing to drink it, but as Leela was saying, it's relaxing to make it. And DC is full of people who are not relaxed. It is full of people who are not relaxed at all. All of that tension in that city, man, it's palpable. They're all trying to take each other down up on the hill. Everybody's trying to win. They're trying to make you lose. You got Uber drivers that are stressed out. It's just kind of a stressful place. So a lot of people come into Teaism to relax. And it could be somebody famous. I mean, Obama came in there one time with the Teacher of the Year. But they even have people like Bob Corker, who used to be a regular. Bob Corker? Yeah.
Actually, for a very long time, we had Senator Corker.
He lived across the street. So he was an almost daily regular.
We actually really loved him. He, even though I don't agree with him politically on just about anything, he was so sweet to me, and he would actually, I would serve him his food, and I would sit down and I would talk with him, and he would let me bend his ear about my progressive politics, and very thoughtfully listen and ask questions, and I felt like he was a real person. He knew all of our staff's name, and I mean, I think a politician should, if you're supposed to know the people. He knew all of our people by name.
He was lovely. He was a lovely customer, and he visited. We were like a safe place for him.
And that's the kind of place that Teaism is. You got all these different kinds of people coming in there from all over the world, some of them with very different viewpoints on life and politics, but they're cool expressing them without going after each other's throats, remaining polite. Is that so hard, America? Is that so difficult? Well, at Teaism, it's not. And the other thing that I think makes it special and extra calming is the jazz music that's always playing anytime I walk in there, whether it was 1998 or 2010. That jazz music in the background's incredible. And as a side note, Roy Hargrove once played Happy Birthday to Leela on the trumpet. I actually like coffee. I got nothing against coffee. I'm not anti-coffee. But for me personally, it's just overpowering. And the lack of the subtle magic that tea has, it just doesn't, for whatever reason, work for me as often. So, say like Sam Kinison versus Dave Chappelle. I go with Dave Chappelle. Less caffeine, more magic. Though sometimes, Sam Kinison does the trick. But even though tea has less caffeine than coffee, if you drink 3 pots of pu'er tea, you will definitely perk up. You will perk up a lot. So where do you go when you're perked up? For me, if I'm in DC, I'm going to the museum. Did you know more people visit the museums in the United States than the number of people that go to sporting events in a given year? Listen, I love them both. But when it comes to DC, sports or DC museums, there is no contest. I went to the museum, and right up the street was the portrait gallery. the National Portrait Gallery. What can I tell you? I'm a fan. It's free. Anybody can go. Everybody should. You got all your famous paintings, your presidents, your first ladies that people are lined up to see. You got your baseball exhibit, and that's a winner. And then you find out about things you didn't know about, like Obata. This was a Japanese American that was interned in a camp in World War II. In the camp, he opened up an art school, had 700 students, went on to just do amazing paintings, including some things on Yosemite that I loved. I did not take them with me because, that's frowned upon. After all that walking and that great infusion of culture, I was both exhausted and excited. Now, here's a pro travel tip. When you're exhausted and excited, all you need is more food to keep going and maybe some jazz music. Where do you go on a Friday night to get delicious food and jazz music for $5? Well, there's only one place really. That's at Westminster Presbyterian Church in Southwest D.C.
My name is Brian Hamilton, and I am a co-pastor here at Westminster Church. I also serve as the president of Southwest Renaissance Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit entity that manages jazz and blues and community development programs.
And what got you interested in doing that?
I've always had an interest in jazz, kind of in specific, and I'm really interested in broad-based community development. And part of what that means for us is cultural development, just trying to restore some of the cultural practices to communities that have lost them along the way. And it's a big part, I believe, of what makes a community really work, what brings it life and vitality and presents ways for people to connect with one another and to tell their story and to preserve past stories and historical legacies, and be prepared to welcome in new innovations into the future.
I was early to the church. I'm compulsively early. That's just the way it is. I could smell the fish frying for the fish frying jazz concert, but it was still an hour away, so I do what I always like to do in big cities. Find an unfamous neighborhood that is unspectacular and discover just how spectacular it is. Just watching the people walk around, kids getting out of school. It's nice, regular life. And the history there was actually quite amazing. Brian Hamilton filled me in on that.
This neighborhood is the site of the first major urban renewal zone in the United States, in large part because of its geography and its proximity to the Capitol and to the National Mall. The problem is, of course, that the underclass of the neighborhood, predominantly working class African American folk in particular, were displaced in massive numbers. 2 out of every 3 residents of the old neighborhood were driven out, even though they were promised, as urban renewal often did, that there would be room for everybody. There wasn't room for everybody. And it shrunk and squeezed the residential body of the community. In the old neighborhood, it was poor, but everybody sort of took care of each other, and there was a very vibrant cultural life in the old neighborhood. There were lots of bars and restaurants and jazz clubs, music clubs. There was a very healthy public life in the old neighborhood, and urban renewal just wiped all that away. So when we started doing this in January of 1999, it was still a very distinct issue and a very pronounced problem to be addressed, that we had such a weak public life. We had brand new buildings and new streets and sidewalks, a lot of brick and mortar that was all cleaned up and looked good and spiffy. But the patterns and the processes and just the mechanics for people connecting with each other in large part just went away. So community building is a real problem.
The Thad Wilson concert and the fish fry both had that great community feeling. And I was an outsider, that was clear. But everyone was so welcoming and just, come have a seat, have some fish. Let's talk. Where are you from? What are you doing? And nobody was more friendly than Dick Smith, who's the MC, also has a career as a singer. And, he played for the Washington Redskins back when they were called that.
Man, I didn't know if you wanted to be interviewed.
We can talk about him,
It's all you. It's all you. Yeah. My name is Dick Smith, and I'm the coordinator for jazz here at Westminster Church. And we've been here for 21 years at this particular building. But I actually started dealing with this music way before that. When I first came here, I played with the Redskins. And so I was introduced by Bobby Mitchell to the jazz community. So I got involved in it and got to know all the players and all the things were going on. Then I got on with a couple guys named Tony Taylor, who had an organization called Let 'Em Play. I became on the board of directors for that, and they were active in doing music all around. So I got to meet and kind of fraternize with some of the really high-end players in this town during that time. So I established a relationship. So that's basically what happened.
And I hear you sing.
A little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I it's interesting. I actually recorded for Warner Brothers. I had an album out in '83, but it was R&B, it wasn't jazz. And then I've done a lot of festivals, and I've done a lot of more funerals than anything. I'm a funeral singer.
Well, there's always a funeral gig, at all places and all times.
No question. Seemed to be prevalent, but I did it. My grandmother raised me, so I did it from the good of my heart. So I never get paid. So it's really not about money. It's more about giving, back.
What does this Friday night event mean to you?
Well, it means a lot to me because I know, because I've been dealing with it so long, about the great history of musicians that they have in this town and the high level and high end players that we have. We have some high end players play all over the world. A lot of these young guys, they just play everywhere. And they're excellent in music at the top of the ebb of music hierarchy. And so we were trying to make sure we preserve that art form, because music, music for America, this is America's treasure, jazz is. Here comes Alan Johnson. I'm being interviewed. Come on, man. Come on, man.
You're in it now.
You in it, yeah. This is Alan Johnson. Hey, this guy. Hey, I call him Amazing Grace. Believe me, he is. He is a fabulous musician.
I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm up here doing a story.
Oh, Knoxville. That's a serious town. That's a serious city.
Yeah, I think I saw on Facebook that like Keith Brown and Donald Brown. Yeah.
That's my hero right there. Call him Uncle Donald. Yeah,
well, this is the right guy to talk to.
Yeah.
Man, this guy, man, he makes our community grow. He plays with everybody, give guys a chance to up their level of playing. And he's doing a lot of recording. He's kind of a modest guy, but he can do it all.
It seems like to me, like if I were trying to introduce someone to jazz of any age, because some people don't get into jazz sooner or later. This seems like a great place to bring them.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I always suggest this place, for people that, where should I go? This is it. We lost one step down. We lost the Bohemian Cavern.
We lost Allen. He don't gig with me no more.
Oh, stop it. That's Thad Wilson.
Hey,
the leader. He's really being interviewed now. Yeah, but so this is
there and talk to.
This is a very important.
From Tennessee.
Yeah, this is a very important place. And Brian Wilson, the man.
That's Alan Johnson. That's Alan Johnson.
He's got a reputation backstage.
Yes, he does.
Oh, Lord.
He is infamous.
Oh, man. We thank God for Dick, man, because Dick Smith, man, if it wasn't for him, just the opportunities to play, and he knows who's on their game, who's actually dealing with the music on a high level. So
See, you see how family oriented we are.
yeah,
We try to take care of. This is what it's about anyway. It's about us, really getting go.
Well, the whole thing was just about perfect. The fish, the music, the community, the neighborhood. How do you make an evening like this even better? You go see Benny Golson at Blues Alley. I had about 29 minutes to get there, and I took a 28-minute Uber drive. He hurried a little bit, and because I was late, they stuck me in the very front row, about 3 feet away from Benny Golson, sitting with a family. The son was a jazz student in high school.
I'm Jordan Bell. I go to Walt Whitman High School, and we have a really great jazz program, and we perform at different areas, different things around the area. We're performing at the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival in a few weeks. It's Valentine's Day weekend, or President's Day weekend, and we get all sorts of opportunities, and it's really great. We go to competitions. We're going to Orlando this year, and it's a really great program.
The show was rich. It was then, it was now. He had young players. He played his hits. He talked about working with Coltrane and knowing Miles Davis. You see, it's all connected. You can't draw a line anywhere between then and now. There's no point where then and now separate. And Benny Golson is one of those threads that show you, hey, it's all connected to now. And man, it was a great show. Yeah, he doesn't play as good as he played in 1964 or whatever, but he played pretty good, and the band was fantastic. He loved being there. Yeah, I got my picture taken with him. I couldn't resist. But I smiled all the way home. I'll be honest with you, I'm still smiling. Though I kind of feel for that high school student, Jordan Bell, because maybe those events he was going to do never happened. But that's 2020. And I'm not Hugh Downs. I'm Todd Steed. This is Improvisations to Go. When the series continues, we're going to go on a record store hopping fiesta in Baltimore. One of the great American sports, record hopping. Lee Gardner will join me. We're going to have a great time. Thanks for listening. Improvisations to Go is a production of WUOT. Thanks to our sponsors, Aubrey's, Lusid Media, Inner Space Yoga and Meditation Supplies. We couldn't have done it without you.